Hi, and welcome to Our Cottage Ways. I'm so happy you're here. I can't wait to share this delicious, creamy, cozy pumpkin thyme soup recipe with you today. It is sure to become a seasonal favorite of yours. It's one of our family's favorites. This is part 2 of our pumpkin recipes. We did pumpkin bread in the last video. I'm excited to share with you some of the ways we're soaking up this season by making all of the soups, baking the breads, taking a trip to our local pumpkin place to select just the perfect pumpkin, and we even took a trip to our park downtown and just enjoyed the crisp fall weather, the trees changing. It was just beautiful, and I'm enjoying this season so much. I look forward to it every year, and I can't wait to share this soup with you so that you can try it and hopefully enjoy part of the season with me. I started making this soup several years ago for a fall party I was throwing, and I wanted something unique that represented the season but was also able to be eaten from a cup without a lot of hassle, that you could walk around and enjoy, visiting with people and socializing, but sip on the soup. And this pumpkin thyme soup is perfect for that kind of a thing. It's creamy, it's smooth. You can eat it from a bowl or sip it from a teacup or a coffee cup. So it's really versatile, but it's also delicious and it's filling. So let's get started on the actual recipe. And you'll see here that I'm taking a couple of large carrots. I've already peeled them, and I'm just dividing them up into manageable slices. You'll see that I'm splitting them in half and then laying them down on my cutting board. I've actually cut myself before trying to cut carrots because they roll around all over the counter. And these knife skills are just simple ways to learn how to manage while cutting your vegetables. And you'll see that I do this with other vegetables as well. I find that if I make the job easier, I'll be more likely to make the recipe again. So nobody wants something that's so difficult or so taxing that you kind of hesitate. Even though you like the recipe, you hesitate making it just because it's too much work. So if I can offer any hints or suggestions that might make your job easier, that's what I'm here for. I always want to offer the most helpful information I can. Next, I'm slicing each stick into smaller sticks and then chopping them up just to make sure that they are all about the same size, so that when they're being sauteed or they're simmering in my pot with the chicken stock, that they're going to cook evenly and in the same amount of time as the other vegetables. So I'll continue chopping until we've got both of the larger carrots completely chopped up and ready to move on to the celery. And you'll see here I do a similar process with my celery as the carrots. I just cut off the ends. Everything's been washed and made sure that it's ready for consumption. But I kind of slice everything into manageable pieces. It's all about managing and making it easier. You'll notice that I'm doing the same size chop and slice that I did with the carrots. And I call this process controlling your vegetables, because if we're honest, sometimes the process of chopping and preparing can feel a little bit overwhelming or daunting. And we all want easier. This process actually makes it easier. And you'll find that you do it with everything. If it's chopping fruit or vegetables, whatever it is, you will find that it will make your life easier. And super satisfying because you're preparing it yourself. There's a sense of pride and confidence that comes from creating your own meal. And there's nothing wrong with pulling something out of the freezer once in a while or things like that. But when people actually enjoy something you made, there's nothing like that. You feel like you're nourishing people and really loving on them through something you created that you got to be a part of. And there is just something really beautiful about that. I want to make sure that this isn't just about recipes or things that taste good, that there's a heart behind it. There's always a heart behind when I know who I'm cooking for, whether it be my kids, my friends, complete strangers. You know, there's a lot of love that goes into the preparation process. And making it easier on yourself is just a win-win for everybody. So once we have our celery complete, now we're going to move on to green onion. I always chop the heads that have the little fuzzy part. I chop that part off, and then I always chop the ends off, and I make my cluster even. And that is going to help when I start cutting, just to feel like, okay, they're all about the same size. And I watch as I move down. You'll notice that I'm keeping the tip of the knife always on the cutting board, and I'm doing a rocking motion. And if your knife is sharp, that will also help in the process of saving you time, actually, because now all of those are cut basically the same size, and it's cut down on time rather than having them spread all over your cutting surface and trying to like catch them and bring them back. That was a one shot. I basically just cut all that in one shot. And we'll take all the help we can get, right? Any little bit helps, and any time saver helps. So if we can save you, even 5 minutes time, that's worth it. Next, we'll move on to the saute process. And I like to saute my vegetables in my soups because it just really adds so much flavor. So we're starting with 3 or 4 teaspoons of butter, and I'm going to let that melt and brown up a little bit in my stock pot. Just stir it around so that it coats the bottom of the pan. And then we will add all of our veggies. We're going to do a process here that a lot of chefs use, and it's called sweating the vegetables. You can use it with or without fat or butter, but this time we're using our butter first and then adding our veggies. And what we're going to do is stir them around a little bit so that they're all evenly coated at the bottom of the pot. It's almost like you're putting your veggies in the sauna. Now we'll put our lid back on and we'll let our veggies sweat for about 5 minutes. You'll notice how much steam is inside of our pot, and that is just from the moisture in all the vegetables and that little bit of butter in the pan. We have added nothing else to the pan, but the steam that's created is basically cooking the vegetables for us. Now we're going to add our organic chicken base. I've, according to the package directions, mixed up a few tablespoons of the base with a couple cups of water, and now I'm adding an additional 2 cups of water. And now we are going to simmer those veggies with the chicken base and just let that simmer for about 15 minutes at a medium heat, covered. That's important because we want to keep that steam going That's going to quicken the process of softening all of our vegetables, which is just going to cut down on our meal prep time, which is great. Now I've added 1 can of pumpkin puree, not pumpkin pie filling, because that is sweet. It has sugar and cinnamon and cloves in it, to my simmering chicken stock. And basically we're just going to let that simmer for another 5 minutes or so, just until everything is heated all the way through. I'm adjusting my temperature because we don't want anything to scald or stick to the bottom. So I'm going to stir occasionally just to make sure that that's not happening. And I always like to scrape down the sides of my pot just so that that doesn't burn either. It's kind of like an insurance policy. Now I'm going to add some Montreal seasoning, which I prefer to use because it has garlic, coarse salt, coarse pepper. There's some red chili flakes. It's a good seasoning blend that I like to use. Now we're also using about a teaspoon of thyme leaves. You can use ground thyme or thyme leaves in this recipe. It doesn't really matter because we will be blending it with an immersion blender next. So if you have either one on hand, that's perfectly fine. And everything's looking really good, so we're gonna get to blending. And this is a wonderful tool to have in your kitchen, especially for soups or sauces. I love to use this for marinara, making bisque or pureeing soup. It just is much better than the alternative. The old way of doing things was to add it to a blender, which I feel can be kind of dangerous. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but I have had my lid pop off from the steam of the heat of the soup, and I do think that this is a more safe alternative. So I do turn my heat down before I start this process because I don't want it boiling while I'm doing this. But you keep your immersion blender down to the bottom of your pan, almost where you can feel it touching. You don't want to lift it up or it'll spray everywhere. You want to keep it down there basically the whole time. And you just keep kind of rotating it around the pot. And you can feel when it's breaking up all of the chunks of the veggies. And since they're soft, this is going to make it a lot easier for that. If your vegetables are not cooked all the way through, it won't create a smooth soup. So you want to make sure that you've simmered it and cooked it for at least 20 minutes on the stovetop total. And then this process takes about 3 minutes, which isn't long. It just is going to keep it from being like a pumpkin stew and make it more of like a pumpkin bisque, which is a lot more enjoyable, I believe. When you're eating something like this, it's just more enjoyable. So now that we can see, I kind of stir it up to ensure that I've gotten a lot of the chunks, and sometimes I might have to go back in and blend it again if I see anything, floating around in there, but it's looking really good. So next we'll add our half and half. And total, we will be adding about 2 cups of half and half. But I like to do it a little bit at a time. At this point, your soup is almost complete. We're wanting to keep our heat on low as we're adding the half and half, just so we bring that cold dairy up to temperature in our soup, and so that it's hot when we're ready to eat. I wish you were here with me right now, that you could smell what is going on. It's like the best Thanksgiving comfort smell. The thyme and the butter and all the herbs and the veggies, it just smells delicious, and I can't wait to dive in. We're getting ready to get it in our bowl so that we can get it in our belly and actually partake of this fall favorite. This recipe makes 6 to 8 hearty servings. It's one of the most comforting, enjoyable recipes that I make all year. And I hope that you will give it a try and let me know what you think. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you so much for joining me today at Our Cottage Ways. I hope you've been inspired to get out to your local pumpkin place, take a walk in the park, breathe some fresh air, enjoy the trees changing and all of the delights of the season, and maybe even make your own pot of soup. Until next time, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more homemade soups and other delicious recipes from our cottage kitchen. Bye-bye!